Hey guys, welcome back to week 11 of the Axial Deadbolt budget build. This week what we're going to do is fill a gap that I feel has been missing with the Deadbolt since it's arrived, and that is the presence of a rear bumper. Now the Axial Rubicon kits came with Poison Spider licensed front and rear bumpers, but when Axial released the G6 kit initially, it had that rear pinched body just like the Deadbolt. But since it wouldn't fit that standard width rear bumper that they had, they didn't carry the rear bumper over like they did the front bumper. That was something that always kind of bugged me. So to fix this issue, I contacted one of the vendors from rccrawler.com. Troy at scalarfab.com was who I went to pick up a custom rear bumper. Now I say custom because this bumper was not on his website when I contacted him. I told him exactly what I wanted and he knew exactly how to take care of it. So what he did is he came up with this design that we see here in front of us. Since then he has added this to his website and the price of this bumper is only $25.95, a super cheap price for a custom built steel bumper. Now when I was going in search of a bumper, the Deadbolt again does have that pinched rear just like the Axial G6 kit. And what I wanted was I specifically wanted a bumper that didn't stick out from the outside of the body and tucked as tight to the bottom of the frame rails as possible, wanting to minimize any hangups that I could have once I got this thing in the rocks. So what we're going to do this week is get this thing installed. That's pretty simple. We're going to use 4 screws total. We are going to have to drill out a couple of holes on the side of the chassis here that are a little bit small right now. Not a big deal. All we're going to use is an 1/8 inch drill bit. That's really it. The other thing that I want to do is really make sure that I can get this body as low as possible. And to do that, I am going to do a little bit of body trimming. Once I get it down as far as I can, we're going to trim anything that's interfering just to make sure this thing's as compact and as low riding as possible. Pretty simple, but every little bit of clearance counts. So let's get to work and see what we can get done. With the body already removed, the first thing we're going to do is remove the rear cross brace with the screw on each side of the frame rail. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to drill out this second hole in the rear of the chassis to an 1/8 inch. It's just a little bit small right now to pass through a 3mm screw, so we're going to increase the size of that so that we can bolt on the bumper with 2 screws on each side. I'm going to loosely position the bumper into place so that I can get the lock nuts started on the back side of my 8mm long 3mm screws. These are coming from one of the screw loose hardware sets that I talked about early in this build. Again, something that I really suggest for anybody just getting into crawling or if you just don't have enough hardware around the shop. Get the bumper into position and start with 1 screw on each side. Just lightly tighten the lock nut on the back side and then we'll move the bumper further into position and add 1 more screw to each side. Again, only lightly tighten these 2 screws and we'll get this thing into position before actually cinching those lock nuts down. Now what I wanted for this bumper again was to have it moved up as far as possible. So we're going to take this and put it all the way in on the adjusters and then we're going to get the body on there first to just take a look and see how it fits. So now that I'm happy with the position of that bumper, I want to make sure that it's level, pushed as far in as possible and tighten it down so that it's got a nice secure fit. At that point, we're going to look at lowering this body as far down as possible and doing a little bit of trimming. Remove all the body clips from the lower portion of the body posts. With the body posts still in their same positions, we're going to carefully place the body onto those body posts. And then we're going to lower the body down as far as we can by hand and start to see where any interference has happened. Now, after taking a close look at all of the clearances underneath, what I'm finding is that we're going to be able to take these body posts and press them all the way down. That's a pretty big difference in the height of our body. What we're likely going to have is a little bit of tire rub when we start flexing out. But again, that's something I'm going to cure with the body scissors rather than leaving the body up taller. With that said, let's get this thing lowered down and get to cutting. Now, as I was adjusting the height of the body, I was taking notice of where we were hitting. The very first place was here along this rock rail. The second place was in the rear on top of that brand new bumper we just installed. The very first place I'm going to start cutting is come in here and trim along this side rocker to get that body lowered down to make sure it's not hitting those rockers. Then we're going to come in and take about a 1/4 inch off the rear as well. So now I've got the body trimmed where I think it needs to be. I'm basically about 1/8 of an inch below that kind of soft seam that sat right down there along the rocker. In the rear, I'm trimmed to just about the bottom of the sticker that was on the rear of the tailgate. Now the front end actually didn't take any trimming because it kind of sits behind our front bumper. I didn't really want to trim this. I wanted to maintain its original shape. So that was kind of one of the goals when I was going in and test fitting everything. But you can kind of use those measurements as an example. With these body posts in their lowest position, reinstall those body clips that held them in place. And now we can reinstall the body in its 4 body clips and kind of check out where our new ride height is going to be. So with the body reinstalled, do a little bit of test flexing and start to see where the tire and body start to interfere with each other. You can do a little bit of cutting again and get that thing nice and trimmed so that nothing will rub. A little bit of rubbing isn't necessarily a bad thing, but of course you do want to minimize it. And also try and pay attention to any body lines. If you do start to trim into them, try and make them uniform so that everything looks like it should be. But once that's all done, you'll be in good shape and your truck's going to be quite a bit lower. So that's it for this week, guys. Pretty easy rear bumper install and then just a little bit of body trimming to make sure this thing's performing the best it can with the parts that we already had again. So with that, watch out for next Thursday when we're going to start getting a little bit more in depth again with some pretty heavy install stuff. So check it out and we'll see you guys then.